Death of Howard and Maria Stark. When he was 21, Tony's parents died in a car crash and he inherited his father's business, Stark Industries. Within a few years, he turned it from solely a munitions firm to a multinational corporation with a range of interests covering virtually all types of contemporary scientific industry, and the leader at the cutting edge of electronics. Tony also bought the company that built the car his parents were driving when they lost their lives and fixed the flaws in their brake system. Tony's new life as a CEO provided him with new challenges. But as the company grew bigger, his job became less exciting, and Tony fell into self-indulgence once again, inventing the Iron Man armor. While overseeing a military demonstration of his technology in an active war zone, Tony tripped a booby trap that killed his escort and lodged shrapnel in his chest. The gravely injured Stark was taken captive by the terrorist leader Wogchu, and was informed that within a week the shrapnel would penetrate his heart and kill him. Wogchu falsely promised Stark that if he built a powerful weapon, he would be allowed to undergo an operation to save his life. Even though Stark realized the tyrant was lying, he agreed, hoping to gain time and access to tools. Iron Man is born. Stark was given access to a small laboratory with another captive, the renowned Asian physicist and Nobel Prize in Physics laureate Professor Ho Yais, whose work Stark admired in college. With Yais acting as his assistant, Stark designed and built an electrically powered suit of armor with a pacemaker-like device that enabled Stark's heart to keep beating. The armor was also equipped with heavy offensive weaponry. Donning the suit, Stark connected it to its power source, an electrical generator. Lying on a table, Stark was helpless until the suit was fully charged. In the least fortunate turn of events, Wogchu decided to check on his prisoners. Knowing that if they were found all of their work was for nothing, Yais decided to sacrifice his own life by distracting Wogchu, giving Stark the extra time he needed to charge the armored suit fully. As the Iron Man, Stark avenged Yais' death and scattered Wogchu's guerrilla troops. Then, still clad in his armor, which was necessary to keep his heart beating, Stark made his way toward the front lines, trying to escape enemy territory. James Rhodes, a pilot with the United States Marines, had been shot down by rockets while he was on a reconnaissance mission. Rhodes managed to land safely and was attempting to get his helicopter airworthy when he encountered the wandering Iron Man. After Iron Man helped Rhodes fight off an attack by enemy forces, Rhodes allowed him to drain the helicopter's batteries to recharge his armor. The two continued to make their way back to American forces and stumbled upon a hidden rocket base. Stealing an enemy helicopter, they destroyed the site and flew to the nearest American base. Back in the United States, Stark redesigned his chest plate, which contained a pacemaker-like device, reducing the chest plate's size and weight so he could wear it under his normal clothing. Required to wear the armor's chest plate at all times to keep his heart alive and beating, Stark decided to put the rest of the armor to regular use as well. After redesigning the entire armored suit to match the lighter chest plate, Stark made the existence of the suit public. He concealed the suit's true origin, as well as the fact that he himself had to wear the chest plate to live. Stark made it known that he would soon manufacture the suit, which he called the Human Machine, for sale to be then public. Becoming a superhero. Soon afterward, Stark donned one of his battle suits in order to prevent thieves from stealing parts from the other copies of it. This experience made him realize that the suit was too dangerous to be made available to the public. The next day, Stark revealed what had happened to him in the war zone to Joanna Ivia, his then fiancée. Together they attended a tennis match in Forest Hills, NY that afternoon. Stark brought along his armor, which he was taking to a nearby laboratory for tests. Terrorists who threatened to kill everyone present with a bomb invaded the match. Joanna urged Stark to don the armor to stop the terrorists. Stark did so, captured the terrorists and saved the spectators by throwing himself atop the bomb. Iron Man thus publicly became a hero, and Stark had a new sense of purpose, having decided to combat evildoers as Iron Man. Wishing to retain some degree of anonymity, Stark established the fiction that Iron Man was his paid bodyguard wearing a suit of armor that he had invented. Only his most trusted aides learned Stark and Iron Man were one and the same. One of these early confidants was Happy Hogan, whom Tony hired as his chauffeur. Hogan fell in love with Tony's secretary Pepper Potts, whom Tony eventually fell in love with as well. Even though Potts reciprocated Tony's feelings, she eventually began a whirlwind romance with Hogan, which ended with the two of them getting married. At first, Stark used his Iron Man identity mostly to combat spies, like the actor, and criminals who threatened Stark Industries, like the Melter or Mr. Doll. During this time, the original Crimson Dynamo attacked Stark Industries, but Tony Stark persuaded him to defect also. Stark faced off for the first time against the Mandarin, who would become one of his most recurring enemies. Later, he expanded the scope of his alter ego's activities to battle any force or person who threatened the security of America or the world. Stark was instrumental in the organization and armament of the original global intelligence and law enforcement agency known as SHIELD. As Iron Man, he became an founding member of Earth's mightiest heroes, the team of superhuman champions known as the Avengers. Stark donated his Manhattan mansion to the Avengers for their exclusive use. As an Avenger, Stark would go on to participate in many missions over the years, although he sometimes had trouble reconciling his private affairs with his responsibilities in the Avengers with the other remaining founders after the Hulk left. He was among those who discovered the frozen form of the heroic Captain America, still frozen since World War II. He was also the Avenger who sponsored the membership of Hawkeye, a man whom he had briefly fought with, after realizing his good intentions. Hawkeye was one of the new Avengers who joined when Stark and the other founders decided to take leaves of absence. Over the years, Stark constantly refined and modified the design of his armor. From a bulky, transistorized iron suit, he eventually built a relatively lightweight, integrated circuit, magnetically polarized suit with more human-looking articulated musculature. Stark's extraordinary genius in theoretical mechanics has enabled him to keep his suit of armor state-of-the-art. Stark eventually underwent heart transplant surgery so that he was no longer obligated to wear his metallic chest plate. For moral reasons, Stark eventually decided to stop manufacturing armaments and devoted his company to other areas of technology. Illuminati. In the wake of the Kree-Skrull War, Stark initiated a meeting in Wakanda with Professor X, Mr. Fantastic, Black Bolt, Doctor Strange, and Namor to form a clandestine, unnamed group to devise strategy and policy regarding overarching menaces, the Illuminati. Stark's original goal was to create a governing body for all superheroes in the world to answer to. However, the different beliefs and philosophies, besides the fact that many heroes chose to conceal their real identities, made Stark's plan impractical. Despite this, the group agreed to share vital information. Alcoholism and a new Iron Man. In recent years, Tony Stark's greatest nemesis has been alcoholism. As a wealthy socialite, alcohol had been a constant part of his life. When his company, which had changed its name from Stark Industries to Stark International, was threatened with the takeover at the same time he was experiencing oppressive personal problems, Stark began to abuse alcohol. Although he managed to recover quickly from his first serious bout, the compulsion to drink remained a constant temptation. The second time he succumbed to alcoholism, due to even more devastating personal problems than the first time, Tony Stark went on a several-month binge during which he was cheated out of Stark International, had all Iron Man suits destroyed, except one, lost the leases on his various apartments, and had his personal assets frozen so that he could not touch his fortune. All of this was the result of the machinations of the mysterious entrepreneur Abadi Asti, who took over Stark's company, renaming it STI International. During this time, Stark's friend James Rhodes, who had gone to work for Stark after leaving the military, assumed custody of the Iron Man armor and operated as Iron Man in his stead. When Stark finally regained his sobriety, he joined with Rhodes and two of his friends, Morley Ewe, late of Stark International, and his sister Clytemnestra Ewe of Richmond Enterprises, to set up a new electronics firm in California named Circuits Maximus. In its brief existence, Circuits Maximus became a prestigious and successful firm. While the armor was in his custody, Jim Rhodes became increasingly emo-red with being Iron Man and, upon Stark's return to sobriety, feared that Stark would ask for it back. The cybernetic helmet had never been properly calibrated to Rhodes' brain patterns. He began to have severe headaches and his thinking was clouded. As a result, Rhodes began to manifest hostility toward Stark. As part of his therapy, Stark constructed a simple suit of armor based on his original design with no intention of donning it until he felt in control of his alcoholism. When Rhodes began acting irrationally, however, Stark felt obligated to put on this crude suit of armor to prevent Rhodes from doing harm. Stark managed to subdue Rhodes and made necessary recalibrations on the cybernetics. For a brief time, Stark and Rhodes used their respective suits of armor as Iron Men, although Stark did so reluctantly. At the suggestion of the West Coast Avengers chairman, Hawkeye, Stark designed and built his most sophisticated armor to date, presumably so that the Avengers could find someone to wear the suit and bolster the team's strength. Battling Ironmonger. However, soon after its completion, Abadiasti became alarmed at Stark's steps toward recovery. Circuit's Maximus was bombed, injuring Rhodes and killing Morley-Ewe. Desiring vengeance, Stark donned the untested new armor and sought out Stee. Stee himself put on a suit his engineers had built using Stark's plans, and met Iron Man in battle as the Ironmonger. Losing the battle against Stark, Stee committed suicide. Stark decided that although one is never truly cured of alcoholism, he could also not deny the responsibility.